Let's go to work. As barbers, we cut hair and fade all day. This podcast goes beyond the barber's chair and is about the rest of our story, positioning ourselves for success, avoiding costly mistakes, and continuing to grow and thrive as barbers for years to come. Join us as we look at the whole world of barbering and go beyond the barber's chair. One of the things I experienced when I was speaking with other barbers is when we talk about our advertising, there's a lot of guys who I've spoken to who said, I tried doing this, but I got I got the wrong people. I wasn't getting the people who I was looking for in my chair. Some of them would talk about they would run a special online and they'd get a bunch of bargain hunters, guys who would come in and they just won the deal and they wouldn't keep coming back after that because the prices went back up. So, we're taught to cut and fade, but we're not really taught about marketing our businesses and how to communicate what it is we do so that we get who we want into our chairs. Because, like the owner of my school that I went to, Gwinnett Barber Institute, Mr. Smith, he would always say that the right people will eventually go into your chairs. We attract who we are. Like, for example, in my barbershop where I cut, if someone's a soccer fan, they're probably going to wind up in my chair. It just works out that way. If someone works out a lot, they're probably not going to wind up in my chair. They're going to wind up in somebody else's chair. So we attract the people into our chairs. Well, here's where the marketing comes in, where we can actually fine-tune our marketing to get the people that we want in our chairs. Now, my guest on this episode here is Betty Emrey. She is a copywriter by trade. She's been doing this for years, and she has a fantastic gift for being able to take what a marketer wants or what a business wants and being able to put it into words so that someone who sees what they're doing or sees their ads, they actually understand what it is, and their company, her clients, their advertising naturally attracts the right clients to their companies. I'm not going to try to explain very much. She does a lot better job explaining this, so I'm going to go straight to the interview here. Thank you very much for your time, Betty. I appreciate it. I know you're slam busy with some of the projects you're working on, so I definitely appreciate you taking your time and spending some with us over here.
Well, thanks for having me. It's really fun to be on the podcast.
I've seen you several times, and I've seen what you do to help businesses and individuals stand out from the crowd. And that's exactly why I want to have you on here, because one of the things I watch when I'm seeing barbers market ourselves online, I see a lot of what I like to call copycat, where, oh yeah, here's an idea, then all of a sudden everybody else does the same thing. For your content creators, people who are marketing to barbers, you'll see one person have an idea, then everybody else have the exact same idea, put it out there. The other trend, which I see a lot, like on the social medias, for example, is just a whole slew of headshots, and that's what they got, or headshots and party shots, things like that. So I want to ask you, ironically, in your own words, how to describe what it is that you do for businesses, and what it is that businesses get from someone like you helping them out.
So sometimes I describe myself as a translator and a matchmaker, because I'm trying to figure out how to translate what my clients know so well into language that their audiences understand. So like their clients, their customers understand, because like all the blade lengths and what all the haircuts are called and all that kind of stuff. I don't know all that. And if I'm trying to find some barber for, my boyfriend or my son or something, I'm not going to know what any of that means. So I want to be able to talk to the client in a way that they're going to understand what it means not being a barber. And then I want to connect my clients with the people that they most want to work with. So if your favorite person to work with is one type of person, I don't want to be talking to a different type of person, and then you're kind of behind the chair feeling really stiff, like you can't have a great conversation with this person. So you always want to kind of figure out who are the people that you really want to work with, and how do you have to talk to them to get them to see that you're that perfect barber for them.
Gotcha on that.
So like if you want to talk, if you want to be a barber for like young hipster kinds of people, then that's a whole different feel than if you wanted to just have like all the grandpas in the neighborhood hang out and talk all Saturday morning. So it's just a different vibe of who you want to have in your salon and or in your barbershop and who you want to have in your chair.
So you kind of cater, I guess, what you're saying and how you're saying it to those
Yeah.
particular crowds?
Yeah.
Would that be kind of like along the lines you're setting the marketing up for who it is you want in your chair?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think like if you were somebody who really wanted to work with the grandpas, you're not probably doing crazy colors or anything or crazy sculpting in the hairdos. I don't know. Maybe grandpas are doing those. I don't know any grandpas right now that have those, but they could. But I mean, I think if that's the kind of haircut you want to do and you really love just the great conversations that you have with these guys, that's a different thing than I'm going to be a bartender who serves all the guys who are heading out to the next hottest party. And so like the conversations you're going to have are going to be different with those guys. You might even tell the same story, but the way you would tell it to those two different audiences. I mean, think about like when you were in college and you went out to a party and then you told your roommate what the party was like. And then your mom came into town and you said, "Oh, yeah, mom, I went to a party last night." The way you tell your mom about that same party is probably distinctly different, even though it's the same story.
Oh,
So,
gotcha. Do you think that's a good, wise choice to say, "Hey, I'm a barber. I do everything in the whole wide world. Here's this. Here's this. Here's this. Here's this." Or would it be wiser to kind of try and narrow it down? If I'm understanding what you're saying.
well, most people suggest narrowing it down at some point. I think when you're first starting out, you kind of take who you can get because that's who's coming in your door. And as they come in and you start working on different people's hair, you kind of get a sense of this is what I'm good at. This is what I really love to do. And these are the people I like hanging out with. And so you kind of get the cross section of what you love, who you enjoy being with, and what you do really well. And that's your niche that you really sort of focus on. And it doesn't mean that you can't and shouldn't be able to do things outside of that, because it might be like, I like working on guys with one hair. That might be your thing. There's probably not that many of those guys out
Right.
so you don't want to narrow yourself down so far that you only have one client, but you do kind of want to have a focus so that there's a reason to pick you over every other barber on in the 3 block area.
Facts. I
Mhm.
I see exactly what you're saying. I remember the owner of the school where I was at when I was back at Gwinnett Barber Institute, Mr. Smith. He'd always say that the right people are going to wind up in your chair over time.
Mhm. Well, the
And
thing too is if you don't try, if you don't experience different people in the beginning of your career, you may miss out on something that you didn't even know you liked
yeah,
and that you didn't know you'd be really great at. So it's kind of good in the beginning to give yourself that opportunity to see what it is that you like.
yeah, it's interesting because I noticed that at the shop I was at before I'm out here, so I got like a good 3 year sample of this, maybe 2 3 years of samples on this, where I would start off, and when I'm there, like you said, everybody's coming in. But what wound up happening over time is that the people who were in my chair, I wasn't seeing everyone in the whole wide world. I was seeing like like it basically falls into a few categories in the doctors, lawyers. I would see Delta pilots a lot down where I was before here. Now I see pilots from different airlines, not just Deltas, flight attendants, CPAs, and tech guys. And
Interesting.
I think what it is we actually have conversations that we can relate on
Hmm.
and be able to talk about things. I notice like personal trainers, they might be in my chair while they're figuring their barbers out. Some might stick around, but like a personal trainer, there's another barber in the shop who he works out a lot. You can just tell. And so they're in there and they're having their conversations about what they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, you can just see it how the folks go from different place to different place.
But I do
So
think people get great relationships with their barbers. because you see them every few weeks and you kind of go, well, what's been going on since the last time I saw you? And you get like you get the whole story, but you get it in kind of the condensed version. But a lot of times people, like I used to answer the phone in a hair salon for a little while, and I was always amazed at how much it was a family in there. Like, even though you think it's not going to be, it's going to be like, ooh, ritzy and fancy and stuff. And it was like, it was really a family of the clients and the people who worked there.
It truly is. It truly is. And we're very transparent in the barber industry. I mean, we have fun and we just keep it completely real there. Or at least in my experience, there's not a whole lot of fakeness going on.
Yeah, and you kind of knew what was going on in people's worlds. And so it was kind of great. You got it was like the cliffhanger over the summer.
Mm-hmm.
When they came back in, they'd tell you what happened. Because a lot of times they're getting ready to go to an event when they're coming in to get their hair done. And then you find out how the event was the next time they're in.
Right? Very, very, very true. So let me, and if I take what you're saying, what I'm understanding so far, let me kind of walk you through it.
Okay.
If I understand everything that we've been talking about so far here, it almost seems like instead of trying to advertise for everybody or market for everybody, I should, even though common philosophy is go after everybody in the whole wide world, it almost seems like it'd be better to be going after just the folks who, well, almost just the folks who are in my chair, the guys who I like working with,
Mm-hmm.
and setting up my advertising and marketing that way to communicate to them. Am I
Yeah.
understanding that correctly, or am I missing that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I think unless there's something going on where you're not getting the people that you want to be working with, or something's going wrong, you really should just like, those are the people who are gravitating to you. And I think those would be the people that you would be enjoying yourself too. If they're enjoying working with you, you're probably enjoying working with them. And so I would really think about who are those people and why are they coming to you? What is the experience that you're providing for them that might be different? Like, so like you said, the guy who's kind of like a weightlifter, workout guy, and the personal trainers come to him. It's because they have a common thing that they like to talk about, the weightlifting. They also probably appreciate the fact that this guy like works out and he's doing something that validates them as well. So like with your clients, what would you say are the things that are important to them when they come in to see you?
A lot of them are, and if I just were to think this thing through, a lot of these guys are schedule based.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, they have their day kind of planned out. They don't want to be somewhere and just have randomness might not be the best thing for them. You know?
Yeah. So if you
Like
have them scheduled, you can't be running 45 minutes late.
exactly, exactly. It's like, hey, you got an appointment for 1 o'clock. I'm going to do everything I can to make sure you are in that chair at 1 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
And if I've had one of the domino effect ones where a haircut just got lost for whatever reason, I'm going to be communicating with you before then, saying, "Hey, we're running about 5 or 10 minutes." So that way, th- that so that way they know what's going on because they can handle changes, but it's the randomness of
Yeah.
not knowing. So they like knowing that. They like knowing that they're organized to the points where these are guys who will take notes of what they do. Right? Their world revolves around looking at information and going back to it and referring to it. Even in the flight attendants, even for those guys there, because they have to do such a good job of keeping track of what's going on with a plane
Right.
on top of
Right.
a couple hundred people on board.
So did they book their next appointment when they leave?
Some do. Most of them will book it. I'm starting to notice the trends are 1, 2, or 3 days ahead of time now.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's those qualities of the being able to predict that sort of thing, be able to predict that kind of nature.
Yeah.
And
So if you were going to talk to those kind of guys, you might talk about looking professional, looking sharp, always having a great haircut so that whenever you're out in public and dealing with the public, you come across a certain professional way. You might also put the amount of time it takes for every appointment on your website, so they understand exactly how much time they're going to have to commit to it. It's sort of just you're telling them something that's important to them. So if you've got somebody who's more laid back than that, and they're just kind of like, they're enjoying kind of a spa day of going in and having a shave or having treatments on their beards or any of that other kind of services, they may be more laid back about like how long it takes and all that kind of stuff. But for your clients, you really want to give them cues that this is going to be a really precise and buttoned up experience.
So, and I guess I'm kind of, and as you're saying that, I'm also thinking about other barbers who I know. There's one who I know who punctuality ain't going to happen.
Yeah.
But, they're definitely on Southern Standard Time. But the cut they're going to get is amazing.
Yeah. And the thing
So,
is you've got to find a clientele who for that clientele, the experience of getting that cut with that cutter is going to be worth it to them. And I'm sure there are people, if he has a certain status of barber, then they're going to say, this is what it takes to have this level of talent work on my hair. I like being in this environment with other people who are as cool as I am, that we all want to sit here and wait for this barber to get to me.
well, yeah,
So,
yeah, and everyone, there's so many different personalities.
yeah.
There's so many different personalities.
And
And it was
for
just a
one of
few
your
months
clients
ago
couldn't work.
when I learned not to say right or wrong about it.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, this is how this person works, and this is the crowd they work with. This is how this person works. It's kind of like you can get a hamburger at Burger King, you can get it at Ruby Tuesdays, you can get it over at Ruth's Chris. You could
Yeah.
probably get one over McKendrick's if you wanted to. You can also get one at McDonald's. And but they're all hamburgers, and
Mhm.
every different one of them has their crowds and their customers.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
might be some bleed overs, but generally speaking, they're going to have their guys going to them, and they're all doing them differently.
Yeah. But I mean, like if you were Ruth Chris and you talked about your food the same way McDonald's does, people would go, like people who went to your place and then went to McDonald's would be really disappointed,
Mhm.
right? Because they would think what they were getting is the same thing, but they're not. So
Right.
you want to make sure that whatever way you present yourself in your marketing matches the experience of what it feels like to come in and sit in the chair.
So as we're putting together whatever marketing it is, whether it's our business cards or our social media or whatever we're using to
Yeah.
get people
Yeah.
in, it's if I'm hearing you correctly, it's the idea of knowing who you're talking to and
Mhm.
speaking their language. Like if you like doing a lot of things for kids, then you would want to make things kid friendly,
Yeah,
maybe even adult friendly, mom and dad friendly, that sort of thing.
definitely.
If you don't want kids, then you would not want to market that way. You'd want to market in a different way to maybe to approach the like you're saying the grandpas or whatever, or just not market to the kids. Or
Yeah,
or some barbers do charge more for kids' haircuts.
I could see why. We had a kid come in to the salon once that was he flailed the entire time. And
Mhm.
she took him outside in the parking lot because he was screaming so madly. And I could see her through the window of the salon. And I don't know how that kid came out with eyes and ears, but he came out with a good haircut. But I don't know how she managed to not cut his ears off in that whole flailing thing. But she should have gotten double pay for that.
I hear you. People ask that question. You don't charge less for kids? No, no, ma'am. So going back to the marketing, I
Mhm.
guess the first point is identify who, if I'm understanding what you're saying, is to identify who it is you actually want in your chair
Yeah,
and speak to them
yeah, yeah,
through whatever language it is that speaks to them.
yeah. That's definitely the way that you will attract more of those people. And you will not attract people who are not like that. And it
Yeah.
doesn't mean you'll push everybody away, but like if you won't attract anybody who's like a serious opposite of that. You might get people on the edges, and usually you'll get people on the edges, but you won't get anybody who's like polar opposite of what you're looking for,
Okay.
unless they're just crazy. And then they might be fun.
Well, we know the ultimate goal. All right.
Yeah.
So I have the most fun with these people. These people here are my best clients, and we're doing all this stuff with them. I guess the big question is, how do we do that?
How do you talk to them?
Yeah, how do we talk to? So I'm assuming that if I'm just going after traditional grandpas, I'm not going to use the same words and same pictures as I would on a children's website or something like that.
No, you'd probably have imagery that shows the type of people that you're cutting their hair. So like hipster dudes or grandpas. Those are very different looking guys and very different looking haircuts. So I would show images of the people who are your ideal clients getting their haircuts, and then I would have services that appeal to them too. So like with it might be, I don't know what you would do for your grandpas. I'm thinking about that, but like for like the hipster crowd, they might get a shave and a shot. I don't know. That might be, and it depends, like depending on the crowd, it could be like a really fine bourbon or it could be Jägermeister, depending on the crowd. And
Mhm.
so those are two different brand experiences right there. So, or it could be tequila where you have the worm, and you know how when people get their name on the bar. So, I mean, it could be something like that where there's a tradition that you like once you're all done, you get a shot and you're on your way to greatness.
Right.
You got your haircut, you got your liquid courage, you're going.
Go hit it.
I guess you kind of got to be careful about that. But
Well,
yeah,
yeah. Well,
those are just different ways that you could, or you could have products that are specific to the kind of clientele you like. So like if you're really into cruelty-free products or something like that, making sure that all your products are cruelty-free, or maybe all your products come from a certain type of provide manufacturer that's a really cool manufacturer. Maybe they all feel like Harley Davidson or something like that. So like those are brands that are really distinct and have a kind of a, so like the cruelty free would have a completely different vibe than something that was like adventure based. And so you just kind of got to feel like are you sending people out into the world to have like these crazy adventures, or are you sending them out in the world to do good?
right.
It's,
So for,
so it's kind of having that vibe and that feel, and then making sure that they understand that kind of service is part of what they get in the words that you use on your website.
so I want to focus on where you went to with words that you use, and I guess marketing overall. But I guess starting with words. So here is average Joe Barber, whatever that means. All right, and they decide, okay, so I want to put my marketing together. I've got an idea of who my customer. I know who I kind of like. I guess that's the first thing you got to do. How do they go about finding out how to communicate to them?
So
If it doesn't come naturally, if it
yeah,
doesn't do
so
that.
it could be that you want to be the barber that doesn't want to talk to people. So maybe you say, I'm not going to yak your ear off when you get in the chair. You could kind of be quiet and calm and meditative while I cut your hair. It'll be more like that experience.
Hmm.
So that could be like something that you communicate. It's the quiet barber, or that's a completely different experience than I think you probably are.
You'd be surprised.
I would imagine you're a good conversationalist when you've got somebody who wants to talk.
Oh, if I can get them talking and doing the talking, it makes my job a lot easier.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, if I kick the conversation into gear, it can be kind of arduous, you know. But ooh, big word, yeah.
So like you could have somebody who talks about how they try to create this calm and peaceful environment for their clients that when they
Mhm.
come in so that they leave feeling relaxed and refreshed. You could also talk about you're like the no BS barber where you're just going to get them in and get them out. This is like
Mhm.
we're just, this is the conveyor belt. I'm going to get you in. I'm going to get you out. You're going to be done in 15 minutes. Bye-bye. That kind of thing. I don't know if you can really do a haircut in 15 minutes, but I think you probably could if you were promising that and those were the people who were coming to you.
Well, that's the thing. That is the thing. If that's the people who, if you set that kind of expectation, then yeah, I can see that doing that. I can see people do that. I mean, I
You're not
think,
gonna get
well, most of the
the
pedestrian
super,
ones, I
you're
think,
not going to get the super fades and that
no,
kind
no,
of.
no, no. No, but I think some of your pedestrian ones, like for example, Great Clips. I'll just use that one. Their whole thing is just walk right in, get your haircut, and get out. And there's not a whole lot of promises being made except for convenience of when it's done.
You're not going to feel pampered and gorgeous when you come out of there, but you're going to have a decent, serviceable cut.
Right. You'll
Yeah.
be getting that.
Yeah.
There's some of the colored barbershops I've seen or some hair places where it's all about the children's cuts. I mean,
Mhm.
right down to the. I'm gonna get. Is it buzz cuts and ponytails? Is that the one I'm thinking about? I wish I could remember the name of it, but
Sounds like a good name for a kid's salon.
exactly. I mean, you listen to it and you provide. All right, this is someplace where I can take my kids to get their hair cut,
Yeah.
and it would automatically go there.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing we're figuring out. Yeah, I'm just kind of walking and tell me if I'm wrong on any of this here because I'm just trying to kind of piecemeal together from what we're talking about. The first thing is figuring out who it is we want to put in our chair, whoever that is. And preferably someone who we have fun with, someone who we enjoy hanging out with, and we're just goofing off and doing our thing with them. And we want to market to that person, to that group of people, and then figuring out how to speak to them. What wordings do they use? What's important to them?
What's important to them, and then make sure you're saying, you're talking about those things when you're marketing your business. So like for the granddads, it might be you have a best story contest every week. Whoever tells the best story of the week gets a free shave, or something like that. It could be something like that just creates kind of community and a sense of, well, you're gonna be allowed to tell me a story while we're here.
Mhm.
I'm not going to cut you off. You're going to, as long as it's within the allotted time, right? But it's not going to be, you're just like somebody who's just taking up space. Nobody wants to listen to your life stories. So, I mean, that would be kind of a cool thing to create
Mhm.
that kind of environment for people. Does that
And
make sense?
so as we figure out how to communicate with those people, whoever
Mhm.
it is that we want in each of our chairs,
Yeah.
what would you consider to be important in a generic sense for a person after they figured out what it is that or who they want in the chair?
Mhm.
Is there like a list of elements or a list of items that you would say, like a checklist? Hey, I got this, got this, got this, got this, as far as how to communicate with that particular group?
That's something I would be able to put together if I was sitting down with a client and really getting into depth about who their audience is and what they want. There's some basic checklist things. You've got to tell them your schedule. You've got to tell them your hours. You've got to tell them your prices. You've got to tell them where you are. Those are all things that you have to tell people, or else they can't find you and they don't know whether they can afford you or whether you're close enough to them to be convenient. Those kinds of things are just make or break things you have to have on there, but you don't have to do it in a boring way. Like my old office, they used to say that we were open from 9 to 5 Eastern to Western time. So it just basically meant we were open all the time. So, but that was kind of a fun way to say we work long hours.
Okay. Do you find that most people naturally understand how to communicate to their target market?
No, I don't. I think that people get really focused on, you put so much energy into learning a craft, and you put so much work into it, and the people that you've immersed yourself with this whole time that you're studying and learning and practicing, those are all people who understand what you're doing too. And so you kind of have a shorthand that you talk to with them about what you're doing, and then you get comfortable with that language because you're in this bubble of people who all speak that language. And so then it gets to be really hard to step back and go, hey, nobody knows what I'm talking about when I say this phrase.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where somebody like me comes in handy, because I'll look at my client and go, well, what does that mean? And they'll say, well, it means something else. And then they'll say some other kind of unintelligible thing from my perspective. And I'll say, but what does that mean? And why does it matter? So having somebody who's like, well, what does it mean? I don't understand that language. And then you have to like put it into a different language, and you have to put it into a different language, and you have to put it into a different language until you get the one that the person goes, oh, I get that.
Gotcha. Right.
I get that. And that's what I wanted. But
Mhm.
but you have to always think about, what does the person want? And just because you have a blade that's XYZ blade, he doesn't know that XYZ blade does this particular haircut. Does that make sense?
Kind
So
of.
like, I can say I got the latest new, it's like the Maserati of barber equipment. But unless he knows that that gives the best haircut for when you want this particular look, he's not going to understand why the Barber Blade 2000 is, he's not going to understand what the benefit of that is. So
Right.
you will spend your time and your energy and your money advertising that you got this new piece of equipment, where you should be talking about how you can do the best version of this haircut they've ever seen.
Makes sense.
That makes sense.
Kind of.
Again, it's the same thing. You're talking about the same thing, but you're talking about it in a way that that guy can understand why it matters to him, rather than talking to another barber who's like, dude, that's the best blade ever.
Mhm.
So that person would be excited about it because they know what it means.
So let
But
me let me kind of illustrate with a simple theoretical example.
the barbershop
Do
blade 1000 wasn't simple.
it? No. No, this I'm trying to come up with a different question here. So a simple theoretical example, and I love the fact you mentioned Maserati, because I know what the Maserati is. And oh my gosh, what a fun car! So let's say we got someone from, let's just say Warner Robins, Georgia. Now Warner Robins, Georgia, it's a military town, Air Force, I think it is mostly. About an hour and a half away from Atlanta, about a half hour away from Macon, which would be the largest city that's close to it. You have some elements of the city there, but you also have a lot of the small town mentality. A lot of folks in the South. I mean, just some of the nicest folks in the world you find there. And someone is opening up a store. Let's just take out the barber world altogether. They sell coffee cups. There we go, coffee cup store. And they know that they want to talk. They want to sell cups to Maserati owners.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So just way out. But they don't have a Maserati. They've never been in a Maserati. Might not have ever seen a Maserati. They just know it's an expensive car. How would they go about learning to communicate with those people there? Or is it a no-go and they might want to find a different market to go after?
You'd have to do some testing in the market. But if I was selling coffee cups that were the Maserati, and I wanted to go after Maserati owners, I would be talking about the precision way that these cups are made. I would talk about the temperature that they hold. I would be talking about how it's the perfect temperature for the perfect flavor of coffee to come through. I would be talking about all that precision, careful design of a coffee cup to make it perform as no other coffee cup on the face of the planet has ever performed. It would be a luxury experience, as opposed to somebody who had like the Ford Fiesta, and then it would be like a fun little coffee cup that you can get, and it's accessible and it's fun and it's going to do just fine. It's going to hold your coffee. Your fingers are going to burn unless you put a napkin around it, and don't drink too fast. You'll spill it on yourself and burn yourself. So it's a different experience.
Right. So I want to carry that and run with the song. Let's play with some
Okay.
coffee cups. The co- the so the coffee they have a coffee shop, they have a coffee cup store,
Mhm.
and they want to sell to mothers of 3-year-olds.
So those would be unbreakable. And they might be, they'll probably have a lid on them. And they'll have a good handle for either mom or the kid. So we haven't determined whether coffee cups are being sold to the mom or the kids. I'm assuming they're sold to the moms.
Well played. Okay. So
But I still think they'd have a handle on them so mom can hang on to the coffee cup and her kids at the same time. And all her kids crap that maybe it has some sort of like a carabiner on it so her keys fit on there, or her it has a phone holder so she can hang on to her phone and her coffee cup. That's where I think we're getting into Stanley Cup territory.
well, while we're going that way, let's go for the grill master. They
Real man.
opened the coffee cup store, and they want to sell to the grill master guys.
That's going to overlap, I think, with the Maserati guys in some ways because
Okay.
the grill guys are like into their particular ways of being and ways of grilling things and temperatures and stuff like that. It depends. I mean, is it a Weber grill or is it a Big Green Egg?
Pick one.
So if it's a Big Green Egg, I'd say it's probably going the Maserati way because it's specialized and it's expensive. Um, with the Weber, it might just be, it is the coffee cup you can take with you anywhere. It's rough and tumble. It's going to withstand the tailgating parties and all that kind of stuff, and family reunions.
Let me try this one.
You're trying to trick me.
I love the way you're working through this because see, you're actually illustrating the point so freaking well. I love it.
Good.
Warner Robins lady or guy, and they've made a coffee cup shop, and they want to sell to Smurfs.
Smurfs.
Going old school here.
So they're going to be blue or they're going to be orange so that they can contrast with the blue nicely. And they're going to be fat and round. And other than that, I don't know because I'm a little too old for the Smurfs, but that's what I think. Might have some flower patterns on them. Like they might have teas, like herbal teas that they sell with those coffee cups.
I'm gonna tell you what I saw, and maybe this is where you recap that. I don't know, but here's what I saw. I saw the same coffee cup being sold to 4 different groups, and you described the coffee cup in completely different ways for all of them. There was some
Mhm.
overlap between between the Maseratis and the grill guys, but other than that, you're selling the same coffee cup,
Yeah.
same lines of coffee cups, or things you might want to have in line for those coffee cups,
Mhm.
but you're selling them completely different, using different verbiage, different language, just different ways to talk to each of them.
Yep. Yeah, but I mean, that's the thing is like, this is another thing. I went to a business coach once and she said, you don't have to get married to your target audience right away. You can date them for a while and see if you like them. And if it's working out, then you can switch. So I would say I would just test it out and see, like watch who you're having more fun with and who are the people who are more likely to come back again over and over and over.
Mm-hmm.
If you're determined to have people come back over and over and over that aren't the people that are coming back over and over, that's where your language can help you. That's where the experience that you create for them can help you. And I think you can talk about it all you want and you can get the words just right. But if the experience doesn't play through when they get there, it's not going to matter. So you kind of have to have your words match the experience that they're having in the chair as well.
Speak more to that.
So if you're talking about having a luxury experience with a barbershop, and well, I'll tell you, I went to a dentist one time and it was a dental school because I didn't have any insurance at the time. And so I thought, okay, I'll just go get this little filling done at the dental school. They're almost dentists. They'll be great. Well, the guy did a fine job on my tooth, but in between when he was drilling on my tooth, he left the drill sitting in my mouth. It wasn't running, but it made me so scared that he was going to step on the thing, wherever that was.
Mm-hmm.
And it just made me nervous the whole time. So if you're talking about like, so the dentist that I do go to is like that luxury dentist where they believe in no pain, no like stress, all that kind of stuff. And so it's a really different experience. And I think that's the same thing. If you're going to a barber that you're expecting you're expecting them to be on time, you're expecting a certain level of, like, you're expecting the hot towel and the towels are cold, that's not going to be a great experience. So if you advertise hot towels, your towels need to be hot.
You just hit on one of my nerve spots there.
Oh, towels.
Oh, I do not like putting anything that's not hot, like unless it's supposed to be cold. So,
Well, I wonder if there's like how you always go to the, like a physical therapist, they always put ice on everything. I was like, I'd rather have it hot.
right,
It's
feels a
better to
whole
have
lot
it
better.
cold.
Yeah, it's like if I reach into the warmer to bring a towel out and I don't feel it's hot enough, I will not use that towel. I'll take it and I'll superheat that thing up before I put it on someone
Yeah.
because just in my experience, like what you said, you want a hot towel. You want a hot towel, not warm, not lukewarm, not tepid, not kind of hot. You want hot.
When you
Uh,
also you want to have the feeling when they open the door, it doesn't want to feel like chaos in the shop.
mm-hmm.
It wants to feel like everybody's kind of got their act together and they're all kind of doing they're in the vibe, they're in the zone doing their thing. It's not frantic, it's not chaotic, there's not towels thrown everywhere or hair piled up and all on the floors in the corners and all that kind of stuff. So you just kind of want to make sure that whatever you set up as an expectation. Also, if you're trying to be like some sort of really fun hipster kind of barbershop, you don't want them to come in there and all the granddads are there. They'll think, oh my God, I got the wrong place.
Mm-hmm.
Or the children, that's a whole other vibe then. So it's just, you want to make sure that whatever you're saying the experience is going to be, that's the experience you're consistently creating and reliably creating for your clients. Because I mean, you're always going to have the hot towel heater is going to break and you're going to have to say, sorry, dudes, it's broken today. We're getting it fixed by tomorrow, but you're out of luck today. Or you have some other sort of like the microwave or something that you can do it in. I don't know what you would do as a result, as a second.
You did work in a salon. That microwave trick, you did work in a salon.
Or I could imagine you could, I don't know. Microwave was probably the easiest thing. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I just think you have to really reliably and consistently talk about your business in the same way and then deliver it in the same way. And that's how you start creating a brand, because you can create a brand, but unless your customers absorb that and go, that's what that shop is about, then your brand really lives in their minds. It doesn't live with you so much, it lives in the minds of your clients. And so you're constantly working to give them the impression that you want them to have so that they'll go out and say, God, you got to try this guy's barbershop. It is so X, Y, or Z, whatever it is that you're trying to create. You want your customers to be able to go out and from their experience, be able to describe how the experience of going to see you is, so that people who they know will love that will come to you.
So brand goes a lot further than just a logo or words on a website.
Yeah, I mean, it's using that logo and it's using those words consistently along with the experience that you're creating. Yeah.
So the experience has to speak the same words that the brand is speaking.
Yeah. Or else you have they kind of bump into each other. You have kind of dissonance with that.
Makes sense.
So if you had a bunch of kids walking into a Harley Davidson bar, that wouldn't be that wouldn't be what that mom was expecting. But she was a, motorcycle mama. You know?
Right.
But yeah, if you just had like a suburban mom coming into a Harley bar with her kids to get a haircut, she would just, that would not be what her expectation was. And she probably, I mean, she may say, okay, let's try it once, but she probably is not going to. She's
I won't want
probably
to come back. Wow. So Betty, do you have anything coming up here in the future? Any kind of workshops or anything like that coming up anytime soon? Anything you're
I,
working on?
yeah, I'm working on putting together a brand messaging strategy session where I look at what people are doing, and then I look at what their competitors are doing and try to compare what they're saying they're doing, what their competitors say they're doing, how they're positioning themselves, and see what can you say or do that's a little bit different, and where is your website really working well and where is it not working so well, and what are some things that you can just do right away to make it a little bit stronger. I mean, it may be something where you need to completely redo it at some point, but there's usually a few things you can do at any given time that'll make the message that you're putting out there a little bit stronger. So that's what this brand message strategy session is all about.
Nice. Yeah, it is very interesting because every time I've spoken to you and we even get on this topic, my brain starts spinning. It's like, oh, here we go. Am I really saying what I want the people that I want in my chair to hear? Things like that. And just one of the things that a lot of us, well, we're not trained like that. You know,
Yeah,
most of us, we know how to cut and fade. That's what we know how to do. And marketing to branding a company is a completely foreign concept to most of us.
yeah,
So
yeah,
definitely helps out. Now, if somebody wants to take a look at what they're doing and maybe get your eyes on their, or they want to speak to you about it, what's the best way for them to reach you, Betty?
probably the best way is go to my website, which is useyourwordsmarketing.com. And there's a link there that they can set up a phone call with me,
Okay.
see what's going on with them. And if it's a free 20-minute call, and we can talk about whatever's going on with them. And I can tell them how I can help them, and they can decide if they want to work with me or not.
Right on with that. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, excellent. And I guess, well, one last thing I'd ask you here, and I kind of spring this on everybody here. So if you're in a room full of barbers
Mhm.
and we're all listening to something you would say, what kind of wisdom or advice would you want to impart at that point?
Well, so I hope that, like when you were saying that branding and running a company, marketing a company is really not natural for you. I would hope that you would be able to find the type of the type of barbershop, and be the type of barber that does come naturally, so that you're being yourself basically, and you're just being consistently your best self.
So if I were to take that to, well, let me tell you what I heard, and you tell me if I got it right.
Mhm.
Be yourself, whoever you are, that is who you are. And if you're trying to fake it and be somebody else, it's going to show somewhere.
Well, I mean, it's not that I think that you can't run a store or a shop that isn't completely authentically you, but being a barber is such a personal thing. Like, you are doing this all the time. You may grow and hire other barbers, so it doesn't always have to be you so personally, but I would hope that there would be something that you believe in enough in what you're doing that it's not so hard to do it. So to be like, really be able to be yourself, it doesn't have to be like, your brand doesn't have, the brand of the shop doesn't have to be so tightly you, but I would hope it would be something that you felt comfortable enough with to say, this was the choice I made. I made it for really good reasons. These are the reasons I made it. And I want to live my professional life out this way. And so it may be personality based, or it may be values based, or it may be like a business decision that you make this this decision on. So, but just being able to be comfortable in your own skin and be at one with whatever it is that you're marketing, if that makes sense.
I think it does.
Yeah.
Be genuine. Be yourself.
Uh-huh.
Be 100. If you're trying to be something that you're not, it doesn't work out. Now, you can always become that person. You can always become what you're not. But if you're trying to portray yourself as something that you're not, it doesn't work out. Not long term anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, cool. All right. Well, I bet just like all good things, all good things come to an end. We've been talking for quite a while here. So, and like I said, I want to let you know, I mean, I appreciate your time, big time. It's really important. I always appreciate when someone of your caliber has time to spend and kind of impart some wisdom on our community here. So that's fantastic stuff. So I
All right. Well,
definitely
thank you so
appreciate
much
that.
for inviting me. I really have enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's been fun.
All
All
right.
right. Well, I'll see you soon. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Bye.
See ya.
That's it for today's episode of Beyond the Barber's Chair. I put links for my guests and for anything we discussed in the description. I hope you got something great and that it helps you as a barber and in life. If you like the podcast, I hope that you will tell a friend about it and subscribe so that you don't miss any upcoming shows. I'll see you next time as we go beyond the Barber's Chair.